Hey guys, I am Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the Masters of the Universe Revelation Scareglow action figure. Now this is a MattelCreations.com exclusive figure, which is part of the brand new Masterverse toy line. Essentially, this would have been the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive for this year, but since San Diego Comic-Con is once again unable to happen, this is going to be up for sale on MattelCreations.com on Thursday, July 22nd at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So, special thanks to Mattel, who did provide an early sample to me and several other media outlets so we could get a look at this figure and check it out outside of the packaging. So I want to start with the mailer box here to show you guys what the overall packaging will come inside of. As you can see, it's just a brown shipper box like we've seen for many Masters of the Universe figures from Mattel, like through the Classics line. We got this really great, almost like sketch artwork of Scareglow on the front. You can see there's a Netflix sticker up here in the top left corner, and rotating that around to the backside, there's some more really rad artwork of the Scareglow character. Now, inside of that shipper box is this beautiful packaging, and this is one thing that I always compliment. Mattel is fantastic at their awesome packaging, specifically for their exclusives. Their convention exclusives have always been extremely elaborate. They really do some cool stuff with it. So the Scareglow packaging here looks like a book. I would assume this has something to do with what we're going to see in the Revelation animated series, but you can see it's very, very cool. It's got a purple and like glowing green motif to it, which matches the action figure, of course. You got the skull face there on the front, and this is a little slip cover type thing. So this can be removed just by sliding it off the side of the box. Let me do that carefully here. There we go. It's actually a pretty tight slip cover, but you can see when I remove it, Scareglow is showing in there. And oh my goodness, he just looks like he is glowing just right there through the packaging. So when I open this up, you will see this amazing packaging. And I'll try to get this in a darker lit shot for you guys so you can see it too. But what's going on here is there's actually some black lights over here in the side of the packaging that are kind of shining to make him glow. And you can see, did you see the flashing light up there? Here, I'm going to do it again. When I open the box, that's what turns the lights back on and off. So you got like this flashing light up here in the top that gives it a bit of like a lightning effect. And then you've got the little black lights over here that's supposed to be giving him the glow effect. I gotta be honest, it's working really, really well. And I'm excited to get this out of the box to take a look at it because he's definitely painted with like a neon green. So it's different than like our standard Scareglow action figures where he's like that glow-in-the-dark white plastic. And this is cool because he looks like he's glowing all the time, but he's supposed to have a glow-in-the-dark action feature as well. So we're going to check all of that out when we get him outside of the packaging. But it is gorgeous packaging. There's a window on the back where you can see his cape as well. Wow, this is just really, really incredible. So let me go ahead and get this guy pulled out of the box, and we will get a closer look at him. So real quick, before we move on past the packaging, I want to point out that this guy is easily removable from the packaging. You can see the tray is just an insert that slides right out of the box, and the figure and the accessories pop right out of that tray. Nothing was tying him in, which means this is going to be very easy to put back in there for anybody that wants to take him out, mess with him, photograph him, whatever, and then decide they want to put him back in this really cool packaging. So it's nice, collector friendly. I think that was a really smart move by Mattel. All right, we've got Scareglow outside of the packaging. You can see that the figure is just short of a full 7 inches tall. So if I put him in a little lineup here with a few of the other Masterverse figures, you can see he's roughly the same height as Skeletor, just a little bit shorter than He-Man. So he does fit right in line with the rest of those figures. And if we're talking about the overall build of the figure real quick, talking about the scale, it is worth noting that it does appear that he shares a lot of parts with Skeletor. So the torso here does appear to be the same. These do look like new forearms because the wrist bracers are new and they're part of the sculpt there, but he does come with the same hands from Skeletor. So you can see this one that's kind of almost like pointing, or, got the finger a little extended there. That comes from Skeletor, the gripping hand, as well as the two interchangeable hands being the open hand and the closed fist, which I'll show you in just a bit there. But he does have plenty of new things going on here as well, like the head, the cape, and these fancy boots here as well, and the loincloth piece. So all of that is new, and it actually looks really nice. So this is inspired by the way the character looks in the upcoming Revelation animated series, portrayed by Tony Todd. I'm very excited to see him because Scareglow has never appeared in animation before, and from the trailer, it looks like he's got a bit of a key role, so that's really, really interesting. The overall look of the character still looks very much in line with Scareglow, but you can see there is some stylistic differences here. He's got full boots now. We got some silver at the top of the boots. Of course, he's got a completely different loincloth type piece here. And also, one of the things I want to point out is that his overall color scheme on his body is quite a bit different than what we've seen in the past. Now, he's still wearing the purples, of course. Purple fits right in with Scareglow. But as I mentioned earlier, all of the past versions of Scareglow were done in that white glow-in-the-dark plastic. So this one's taking a bit of a different route because the majority of this figure is done in black. And instead, the bones are painted on, and they are a neon green. First of all, as I mentioned in the packaging, that green paint that they used for the bones is pretty mind-blowing because this guy looks like he's glowing all the time. I mean, that is some serious day-glow green going on there, and it is very cool. The head itself looks like it is just molded in that same kind of neon green plastic. So all of the green parts on this figure are very bright, very vibrant, and he looks like he's glowing at all times, which is just a really cool effect. Now, the black is actually a translucent black plastic, and it doesn't really show very good on camera. You can see it the most in the hands. You can kind of see how there's some translucency going on there. You can kind of see my fingers through the hands there. It almost doesn't look like it's that for the rest of the body. In fact, you can see this looks pretty solid, but there are some angles where you can see the light kind of shining through his body there, and I don't know if that's really coming across. It's a very, very dark translucent black plastic, but it is all translucent plastic. You can kind of see it up in the shoulders really well. Also, I almost wish it was a little bit lighter so you could tell a little bit more that it was translucent, because I think like a smoky, dark, translucent plastic with those green bones would have looked really cool. But as it is, I do still think he is a very cool looking character. It's a very cool design for an action figure. So let's go ahead and break down the articulation while we are at it. It's very similar to what we've already seen with Skeletor. That head is on a ball joint with a removable head, and while we're here, it's worth noting that the cape also comes apart very much like Skeletor's, because the top portion of his cape, the cowl here, is molded in plastic, like a softer plastic, and then the cloth cape just kind of sits over his neck like that. So that's how it all comes together. We will come back to the cape in just a minute. Otherwise, we got those ball-like joints at the shoulders. They can go outwards, forwards, backwards, swivels at the bicep, nice double joints at the elbow there. You got swivels at the wrist, hinges at the wrist, and those hands are removable for the interchangeable hand accessories. You can see the torso has got that like ball joint in the middle there, so it kind of rolls all the way around, and then we can swivel at the waist there. Those legs are on the ball and socket like hinges there on the inside, and you can see that the skirt piece doesn't get in the way. It's got the slits in the side, so the legs can go outwards, forwards, backwards. We got the swivel right below that. We got very, very tight double joints at the knees, which I'm glad it's tight, but it is almost too tight to move them. Swivels at the boot cut, and then the ankles can move up and down as well as rock side to side. The feet don't feel too loose on this guy. No loose ankles, which is really, really good. They do still feel a little weird in the hips there. Like it has to like click in place. I talked about that in both my He-Man and Skeletor videos, so it is present here as well. And that brings us back to the cape, which as you can see is a wired cape, and it is very cool looking. Now, it does just kind of look like the same felt-like material that was on Skeletor that I'm not a huge fan of, but it does look better because at least it's not just like a straight square. Scareglow's has got that very cool tattered look to it, and it's very uneven. I really like that, and the wire is very cool. So it's just in the top of the cape there, but that allows you to really bend it around and get some very cool looks for the character. Get that windswept look, so that definitely adds to the overall look of it. Now, one thing I hate is this giant tag that's on the inside. Oh my gosh. What the heck, Mattel? I imagine this is some sort of like copyright, look, because it's got all the copyright information stuff on there, but I hate this because it's always, you can see it, like when you're moving the cape around, like there's a big stupid tag. Easy enough, I guess, if folks want to cut it off, but I don't know, I don't like doing that. I don't like changing the way the figures come. I don't know, so I kind of wish that tag wasn't there, but I don't know, it may not bother you as much as it bothers me. All right, so as far as Scareglow's accessories go, he does come with his scythe, which is very cool. This, of course, is very similar to all the scythes we've seen in the past. It is done in a dark green with that nice Dayglow green on the blade there. Very cool. You can't have a Scareglow without this weapon, in my opinion. It's what every version of him has always come with. Both of his gripping hands do a pretty good job of holding on to that weapon. And I guess while we're talking about the hands, I did mention that he comes with the same hands as Skeletor, so you can see he's got that same open hand and that same closed fist that you can easily swap out. The open hand is just a little too flat open for me, but still, you might be able to get some fun poses just by mixing and matching those parts. Now, his final accessory is very interesting because he comes with the Sword of Power, but this has the two halves of the Power Sword gimmick. Now, we've seen this in the recent trailer. It might be a bit of a spoiler, but it was in the trailer, I guess. So here it is. There is the light half and the dark half of the Power Sword. It looks like they're going to kind of play into that old two halves of the Power Sword thing from the old action figures, which is pretty cool. And Scareglow apparently has something to do with that. So it's interesting because with this sword, you can remove those two halves of the blades and they come apart and they kind of make two little skinny swords. Like Scareglow can grip the bottom halves there. We got a yellow half and a purple half. So it's a really interesting accessory. Now, this hilt thing that it plugs into is crazy oversized. Like it's comically big. And they did that thing where they had to make it big because they wanted to do the action features. So they just plug into it. If you want to give it to your He-Man, you can. It looks silly. It looks really, really big. Obviously, look, if we bring in the standard Power Sword and put it alongside that, I mean, the size difference is crazy, but it's still a really interesting accessory, and it's worth noting that this has a glow-in-the-dark action feature. So with that being said, let's check out Scareglow's glow-in-the-dark feature. So every version of Scareglow in the past has glowed in the dark, because of course it does. That's his whole gimmick. So if we put this guy in the dark, what happens? Only his head glows. Yeah, I gotta be honest. I was a bit let down by that. Now, don't get me wrong, the head is made of a nice glow-in-the-dark plastic, and even though it's that bright green in the light, it still glows really well also. But the rest of his body has no glow-in-the-dark paint. What the heck? I don't know how I feel about that. In fact, I don't think I like that at all. Now, don't get me wrong, he looks great in the light. I was praising that Dayglow green and how he always looks like he's glowing. But apparently that means that they got rid of his glow-in-the-dark action feature entirely, except for his head. The old collector in me, who appreciates all of the old gimmicks from this toy line, really dislikes that. But as most of you are just going to leave this guy posed on the shelf anyway, like me, I mean, at least he looks like he's glowing in the light, I guess. Now, let's bring in that Power Sword so I can show you how that also has that same glow-in-the-dark feature, as I mentioned. So the only things that glow in the dark with this figure are his head and that sword. With that being said, my friends, it's comparison time. Here is this brand new Scareglow standing alongside the vintage action figure where this all began. And this is where you can see what I was talking about with him being all white, that glow-in-the-dark white plastic previously, and how this new one has a very different look. And then we're going to bring in the Masters of the Universe Classics version, which was the 7-inch collector version from the past. So you can see the two side by side, how different they look and how they scale a bit differently from each other. In fact, I've mentioned this before, but it's worth repeating. The heads are not swappable between these because the ball joints are not the same size, but also the heads are terribly out of scale with one another. And lastly, here is the recent Masters of the Universe Origins Scareglow standing alongside this new one. And with these, the ball joints are the same size, so you can swap heads, but it's kind of comical. And in a glow-off, every version of Scareglow wins and this one loses. I mean, especially the Origins one. Holy cow, look at that glow. So there you go, my friends. That is a look at the brand new Masters of the Universe Revelation Scareglow action figure. So I have mixed feelings. Now, I will say overall, it's very positive. I think this is a very cool looking figure. I love his redesign. I'm really impressed with that bright green paint that makes it look like he's always glowing. The packaging is phenomenal, but I have to be honest when I say I'm a little let down that the figure doesn't glow in the dark. Like, that's the whole point of Scareglow. I know that he looks good still in the light, and I think that's going to be just fine for a lot of you, and if it is, that is totally cool. This is also an exclusive that will only be available at MattelCreations.com on July 22nd at 9 a.m. Pacific time. I have no idea how many of these there's going to be, so I really don't know if we have to expect fast sellouts, but you guys better prepare for the worst just in case. Other thing I'm thinking is that there's probably a good chance this is going to get a retail release also, just without the fancy packaging. They've done that a lot in the past. I think it's very possible. I don't know that for sure, so don't hold me to that, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. So make sure you guys are able to get onto MattelCreations.com and try to nab this guy for yourself if it looks like something you want to add to your collection. Once again, thanks to Mattel for sending this guy over. Thank you guys so very much for watching this video, and until next time.
The Toys of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe is available for pre-order now. This official guidebook is published by Dark Horse Books and features over 750 pages of photos and information on your favorite He-Man and She-Ra action figures. Shipping March 2021, The Toys of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe is available for pre-order now through Amazon or your favorite local booksellers. You have the power.